Right guys and girls, we continue with Derek's build. So Mike's put the DS2500 pads in the rear. It had Apex pads in it, which is okay. It's right for everyday cars, but not for something like this. I mean, he's got DS2500 race pads in the front, so we've put DS2500s in the rear to match, right? He's going to be doing some track work for this, so the Apex pads ain't no good for that. All right, so yeah, so Mike's done that, and he's complemented it with fitting the our braided lines on the rear. And you can see we've got the H&R rear anti-roll bar, which is fully adjustable. All the front brakes are back on again now. Derek already had the big brake kit on the front. He's had that for one of my first customers with that, so that's ideal. So again, you see the braided line up. Now matches the rear. All the belts are on and all that sort of stuff on the auxiliary drivetrain side of things. Now, as you can see, we've put on new front lower suspension arms. The others are looking a little bit tired, a bit rusty. And the subframe, I've cleaned that up and give that a right good going over. Give it lots of coats of etching primer and then lots of coats of 2K satin black, just to make it look a bit, you know, a bit tidier, that's all. On the boost pipe side of things, look, as you can clearly see, it's Revo. So he's already got the Revo big boost pipe kit on it. So the turbo, that comes with like a stage 2 performance packs, that sort of thing. You can buy it individually or you can get it as a stage 2 performance pack. It's got the AirTech oil cooler, which is really good. Front anti-roll bar, upgraded one, H&R, as you can see, on the most aggressive setting again, complemented with the white line adjustable drop links as per rear. On the front, we've now fitted up the Paralloy radiator in satin black. You can't see much of it. Maybe you'll see it a bit more when I let it down. Yeah, you can just about see it up and through there. You got the drain plug there. And as far as the intercooler side of it, we've test fitted that. He's already got a Revo intercooler on it, Derek. We've cleaned that up, painted it. He wants our logo on the front, so we've sort of like, we've dummy fitted it, put the bumper on, and just to see where the stencil is going to go. And then Laura will make a stencil up, and then I'll put the stencil on our own in nitrous blue. That's what he wants. Yeah, you can see, look, it's got our fully upgraded silicone hoses. You know, that's for the transfer box. It's water cooled. Look underneath again, sport cat's been fitted back up. It's a Miltech sport cat, Miltech system, non-res all the way back. So under the bonnet of Derek, so you can see the radiator a bit better now, look. Only the top of it, look, and through there. Our silicone hose kit, which we talked about before. Fully yet, some of them have. The ones that are tight are marked, look. So they've got a, just so happens that I've got a nitrous blue coloured pen, so then I know it's tight. So the ones that are not marked, there's not one on there, so the ones that are not marked, they ain't tight. So that's just the way the system that I run, and it works very, very well. You don't get caught out then, do you? Very, very simple, really simple idea, which could make all the difference and stop you from, you know, potentially leaving something loose, which could be catastrophic, couldn't it? So just bear that in mind. That's just what I use anyway, so it's a very simple idea. Yeah, all this to be left out because we need to punch some holes through this grommet where the main engine loom comes through, because that's where we're going to feed through for the vacuum, for the MEF, for the boost pickup, and some of the wiring, which has to come down to the failsafe, for the solenoid, etc. All right, so yeah, we need to get on with that later. But as you can see, so inlet manifolds on. The reason why there's tape over these is because that they've already been drilled, so that's going to be for the injectors, already drilled, already tapped, ready for the nozzles to go in there. This is one of the lines, but that's not relevant for the minute. All right, so what we do is, this is a 6-cylinder distribution block, so it's like it says, it is for a 6-cylinder car, but we use these because we need all the ports. So that's just like, just mocked up, dummy fitted for a second. So what we need to do is I need to plumb it all in, all right, get the lengths right. Obviously These will all travel up to there, one down to the charge pipe, just travel up to there. But we don't fit them, all right, anywhere into the system at the moment. So we get everything fitted up with all the wiring, the controller, the tank, as though it's basically all fitted, but we don't fit the actual nozzle injectors to the engine. All right, we leave them obviously on the end of the pipes. We leave, I say dangling, yes, we can use that word. And then that's a way of testing them. So then I can pressure up the system. I can test the system without the controller, and to make sure that all the nozzles are spraying at the same time at a certain PSI, and make sure the spray patterns are good, etc., etc. Once I'm happy with that, then we fit them all into the ports where they're supposed to go. Across to, walk past the police car, look, a beautiful police car with our fantastic brakes on it. Yeah, so now let's go to the bench. So let's start right hand side. So we've got the standard pump, which is, it could be a Devil's Own, could be Cooler Mist, it's all the same. It all comes from Bruce at Devil's Own Cooler Mist. These attachments here is for the 3 gallon race tank. Now that's American 3 gallons, so don't get confused with that. In the UK measurements, it's different, right? It's less on the American side. So yeah, so then the pump fits underneath there snugly, all right, which is great because it's acts as a sound deadener, so you don't hear it so much. So that's that side of it. Then we move across to, we just talked about the nozzles. So this is the nozzle holders, and obviously the injectors are here which screw into the nozzle, and then you configure it into the car. We're using size 1s on derricks. Over in Ireland, you can only get 95 RON fuel, believe it or not, which is pretty crazy, but it is what it is. So we need to configure a different setup for him. Speaking to Bruce and Tommy at Velocity Tuning, how we're going to do this, because obviously the software is going to have to be tweaked to suit a base 95 RON fuel before we start adding the methanol. All right, so that's Tommy's job, and he will do that. But speaking to Bruce, we're going to go for size 1s in the intake as opposed to 0.75s, and then we use a size 3 in the charge pipe. The starting octane is 99 here. You can get 99, so we're like 4 octane up on Derek's, what Derek can get already, because he can only get 95. So he has to start, so that the software has to start by targeting 95 first, and then introduce the methanol. All right, and that's the way it works. So we got the solenoid, and then we got the fail-safe. You need the fail-safe because this is a completely independent system. All right, so if it detects a problem with a blocked nozzle or electrical fault, or whatever the case may be, it will cut the boost. So the fail-safe will cut it. Solenoid will work in conjunction with the fail-safe, and then it has to be wired in for it to tell it that. So you might want to wire it into a map sensor, boost sensor, whatever you want to call it, so that when it sees it, then the map sensor it can tell it to shut it down, and it won't boost then. So protecting components of your engine. Low level sensor, don't ever get that confused with a fail-safe. It's not. All right, it's a low level sensor which does what it says. It's detecting a low level in your tank, like a low level sensor in your car with petrol or diesel. When it detects that it's low on fuel, it will ping the light on and say, you need to get some fuel, mate. So it's not empty, so it just gives you a bit of a warning. We put it up into a position sort of like here, so it's in, obviously this baffled this one as well, but so you just need to be aware. Then you obviously need to fill it up with methanol, don't you? So you don't want it running out. So same thing, but it's not a fail-safe. Don't ever think that's the fail-safe. All right, the fail-safe has to be on a pressure line. It's detecting pressure loss, and then ping up the fail-safe ping. Then it will then do its thing. Then it will put it into a limp mode. All right, this is your controller. Mine, the original Cooler Mist I've got, is a bigger controller. Mine's all built into the controller that you see. This is not, so they've changed it now. Robert's got this one, so it's a separate control box, and then that's just a display here. So that is just your display, and then like we said about a low level, so it's got different settings on it. I think it's a blue light which will start a flash. It will come on, start flashing when the low levels active. Straightforward, but a completely independent system, and there's no. Obviously, it's got to be wired into an ignition switch feed on it. You have to. It's on these. It's got to have, how is it going to power up? So, but it's completely independent. All right, this has got all the wire in here, all the bits and pieces. You know, your boost barb, which will be putting in the that has to go in the line somewhere. All right, to pick it up. So we'll find somewhere for that to go, and then all your rest of your bits and pieces and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so lots and lots to do. It's quite involved with the wiring on this and getting it done. You've got to, you know, the interior side of it's got to be stripped out and then wired through the car, all tagged nice and neat. Make sure it's not going to snag anywhere. Yeah, so all the glove boxes out of it, all the center console bit and all that sort of stuff. We need to put the MEF switch in. This is the MEF switch. You can see it's the black switch there, look. All right, so that's the MEF switch. All right, so it's just a very simple on off. All right, so it doesn't come in the holder, it just comes switch. So Julian done at Proform Engineering, billet holder which he made for us, which slots in there nice and snug, and then we got them powder coated up our local place. Obviously you got to modify the rear of it for that to come through, and then the other cables for the controller will come through there as well. So it all works really well, and then the controller is sitting there nice and snug and, you know, good to go. So we've made significant progress on this one, as you can see. So now we've got in the 3-gallon race tank. That came from our partners, Bruce, about Cooler Mist, Devil's Own. And as you can see, so as the same as Permine and Roberts, with the boot floor, okay, see which you see underneath there, look, there's no spare wheel in these. You've got a sub on that side and all your bits and pieces go in there, like, you know, your boot tidy. This is all one piece. Derek wanted to get access to underneath, so we've cut that, and then Laura has tied it up with some loom tape, which is very, very sticky. It's ideal, blends in really nice. Up through here, look, underneath all this, and then up through there. As you can see there, look, there's the feed coming up through there, and then we tag it there, so obviously when the seat goes up, it's clear, doesn't touch at all. As it comes through there, look, all the wiring's done there, down through there with these nice neat tags, and then it just follows under there, all wiring's hidden. We've got to put this trim back on yet, but again, and then a door seal, but we'll do all that afterwards. This is for the, I can test it with a, you know, pressure regulator on our airlines on the wall and regulate it down to what I want and then set it up. So that's that part of it done. So I just put a temporary battery in at the moment so I can get some power up. Everything's disconnected. Obviously the fuel pump relay fuse is out. Everything's disconnected. You know, we don't want any power to that because it will start to chuck fuel up. We don't want that. So as you can see that, so everything's configured. So your feed comes in through there, and as you can see, down to the solenoid. All right, obviously into the solenoid and out of the solenoid, and then that there, you follow that along. This is the fail-safe, which you can see down there. Look, you can see a better angle. So I made a little bracket for that. So this is the fail-safe, which it does what it does, what it says. So if you've got a problem with wiring fault, a blocked nozzle, it detects any sort of problem, the fail-safe will cut the boost. So it's, you know, it's going to protect your engine. All right. And obviously it's linked. This is your fail-safe trigger wire, so that will be plumbed into the map sensor, so it will take it off that, and then if it sees any problems, it will then just cut it back until you've rectified the problem, and then obviously that will reset itself. All right, but so that tees off down to there. You've got your feed into your distribution block, 6-cylinder distribution block. This is not a 6-cylinder car, it's a 4-cylinder, but we need a 6-cylinder because we use the other 2 ports. Now, this one's going to be the original. That one's down to the, will be down to the intercooler. I'll show you that in a sec. So these lines are just test lines that I use. All right, so what we do is come down, look, and from right to left. So we attach the nozzles onto the end of the test lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, there, and then that's your straight one. These are angled because they go onto the inlet. This one will be a straight one, which we can use straight down into the intercooler, which has already been drilled and tapped for a pressurization test. And then I can trigger that and hold it and keep it going, so it's triggering all the nozzles. I've already done a little vid on that. They're all spraying, the spray pattern's good, and then I can set up when I want it to start triggering, and then when I want it to ramp up on forward duty cycle. But the most important thing first is to test to make sure they all work. What you don't want to do is screw in all the nozzles. How do you know that one of them might be sticking, something like that? Because when they've been sat around on the shelf, you know, they go to sleep, and you've got to, like, the spring might need triggering again. So that's what we do. And if there's any issues, just strip them down, put some pressure through them to trigger them, and that's it, basically. All right, so yeah, so all the progress, good progress been made so far. The controller side of it, there, so that's the controller, all right, and then obviously that's the MEF button, which is optional, but we, you know, recommend that you have a MEF switch because you can turn it on and off. So say you did have an issue and it triggered the failsafe, or say you ran out of meth and you thought, oh, you don't need running meth if you ran out, you know, on the meth map. So you can turn it off, load up a different, a non-meth map file, all right, and then away you go. So that would be, for example, if you had an issue and you couldn't use the meth, that's what it's for, and then when you correct the problem, and sort it out, then you can load up the MEF map again. So you can turn the MEF on and off, but it needs to stay on all the time if you run on the MEF map, obviously, because, you know, the calibration is done for methanol. All right, so that's that there. The button, obviously all this has to come out to do that. That's when you see I haven't put it all back together yet. I haven't clicked it in properly yet because I haven't finished testing it. But, you know, once I've finished testing it, then I'll tidy everything up, screw all that, put all that back together, and job done. All right, so yeah, MEF button's great. It illuminates all red. But the controller's great. Yeah, so that's it. So it's a bit untidy here at the moment, but I'll tidy all that up, put all the trims back on. But once I'm happy with it. So yeah, so that's it really. Obviously we test it just with deionized water. You don't ever want to use tap water, no matter where you live in the country, because it will have additives in it and it will block the nozzles. All right, so deionized distilled water, whatever, that's what you want to be using. So yeah. So we are making good progress. So this is just a power feed, by the way, for the controller. Obviously the earth is, we just use one inside the car, and you have to have an ignition feed, but it's a little bit more complicated because we're running it for a MEF switch as opposed to, you know, direct. All right, so yeah, more to come soon. See ya.